Good morning, everyone. So for today's video, we will discuss our answers about Johnson & Johnson's debt management. But before that, let me define first what is debt management. So debt management is a way to get your debt under control through financial planning and budgeting. The goal of a debt management plan is to use these strategies to help you lower your current debt and move toward eliminating it. So why is it important? One of the biggest benefits of a debt management plan is that it lets you clear your problem debts at a pace you can manage, which can take a lot of pressure from your monthly budget. Although because you are paying less every month, it may take you longer and cost you more to repay your unsecured debts. Another thing is that debt for a business is part of running a business. It is normal when you create a business, there will always be debts. That is good, but we all know that can be bad as well. The key to correct debt management is knowing why you have certain debt and crafting a plan for managing it. While bringing increasing revenue is helpful to your healthcare business, a big mistake you could make would be to not focus on increasing net profit. If you continuously increase your debt load, sustaining your business will be more and more difficult. So for example, your annual income is 100 million and your debt is 200 million. So did you gain a profit? No. Kulang pa imuhang profit sa imuhang debt nga gabayaran. So that is the importance now of managing debt. Now let us proceed to the debt ratios, debt to equity, and other types of debt management for Johnson & Johnson's business.
Financial leverage ratios are also called debt ratios. They measure the ability of the business to meet its long-term debt obligations, and it is also used to compare the overall debt load of the company to its assets or equity. It also helps management and investors understand the risk level of the capital structure of the company. Financial leverage ratios has three different types. One is debt ratio, number two, debt to equity ratio, and three times interest earned ratio.
The debt ratio is defined as the ratio of total debt to total assets, expressed as a decimal or percentage. It can be interpreted as a portion of a company's assets that are financed by debt. The formula for calculating a company's debt ratio is debt ratio equals total liabilities over total assets. So Johnson & Johnson in 2020 had total assets of $174,894 and total liabilities of $111,116, and its debt ratio is 63.8%. In 2021, Johnson has total assets of $182,018 and total liabilities of $107,995, and its debt ratio is 59.3%. Johnson & Johnson is a better financial situation than one with a debt ratio in 2021 and 2020 59.3% and 63.8%. According to our research, a debt ratio greater than 100% tells you that a company has more debt than assets. Meanwhile, a debt ratio of less than 100% indicates that a company has more assets than debt. In this case, there are more assets than liabilities. The higher the debt ratio, the more leverage a company is implying greater financial risk. At the same time, leverage is an important tool that companies use to grow, and many businesses find sustainable uses for debt. With a debt ratio, it can help investors determine a company's risk level. Johnson & Johnson's debt ratio in 2021 and 2020 indicate relatively high reliance on borrowed capital, and they have reached the generally considered minimum ratio of 50% debt and 50% equity. Too much debt would pose difficulty in obtaining additional debt financing when needed, or that credit is available only at extremely high rates of interest and most onerous terms. The debt-to-asset ratio for Johnson and Johnson Company is 59.3%, which means that 59.3% of assets are purchased with a debt. As a result, 40.67% of the assets are financed with equity or investor funds. And on 2020, the debt to ratio of the company is 63.8%, which also means that 63.8% of the assets are purchased with debt, and as a result, 36.18% of the assets are financed with equity of the investors' funds.
Debt to equity ratio is used to measure the company's total debt relative to the amount originally invested by the owners and the earnings that have been retained over time. It is one of the things the bank looks to assess your situation before agreeing to lend you an additional amount. The formula for debt to equity ratio is total liabilities divided by total equity.
Number 2, debt to equity ratio. The formula of debt to equity ratio is total liabilities divided by total equity. In 2020, Johnson & Johnson has total liabilities of 111,616 divided by total equity of 63,278. So 111,616 divided by 63,278 is equal to 1.764. 1.764 times 100% is equal to 176.4%. So the total debt to equity ratio of 2020 is 176.4%. In 2021, the total liabilities of Johnson & Johnson is 107,995 divided by the total equity of 74,023. So 107,995 divided by 74,023 is 1.459. So 1.459 times 100% is equal to 145.9%. So the total debt to equity ratio of 2021 is 145.9%. So our interpretation is Johnson & Johnson debt to equity ratio decreases between 2020 and 2021, implying that the business is not at risk and is using less debt to finance its operation.
Times interest earned. So time interest earned ratio is a measure of the company's ability to pay its debt obligation based on its current income. So the formula for times interest earned ratio is operating profit divided by interest expense. So Johnson & Johnson's 2021 operating profit is $20,878 and its interest expense is $183. So $20,878 divided by 183 is equals to 144.8. So in 2020, Johnson & Johnson's operating profit is $14,714 and its interest expense is $201. So 14,714 divided by 201 is equal to 73.20. So based on the answer, Johnson & Johnson's times interest earned during 2021 is 144.8 times, which means that the company can meet its interest expense 144.8 times over each year. And during 2020, the company's times interest earned is 73.20 times. It is good that the business can pay its interest expense at least more than one time each year.